Welcome to the Sports on I-40 podcast, where the numbers don't lie and the eye test is optional. It's November 19th. The leaves are falling, the schedules are out, and the 3A girls basketball world is already on fire. I'm talking Snowflake, Sholo, Tuba City, Chinle, the usual suspects. But this year, the date says the East is a two-horse race and the North is a four-team bloodbath, and somebody is going to get paid come in March. We've run 10,000 simulations. We've crunched every box score, every returning point, every mile of reservation road. And when the smoke clears, the model spits out one name at the top of the mountain, Snowflake. Again, Mike Brogan's crew returns the best player in the conference, Raya Denhalter, and enough firepower to make last year's state title run look like a warm-up. Also, Page goes into Sholo and drops 51 and 45. That's a 6-point upset on opening night. The Cougars had 100% return, home court, everything, and Page with 59% back and a road trip from hell says, nah, that's why we do this. That's why the math needs to be tested. Over in the North, Chinle lost 87% of their scoring, and the model still has them fourth in the state. That's how scary that 1.41 points per possession ratio was last year. Tuba City, Page, and Ganado are still within a possession of each other. It's going to be trench warfare every night, and it certainly was last year as well. We've got week one spreads hotter than a Winslow blacktop in July, and we've got over and unders that'll make you rethink the word defense. And we've got championship odds that will either make you rich or make you look real smart on X. So buckle up, Arizona. This is the Sports on I-40 podcast, where the math is cold, the takes are scalding, and the road to Veterans Memorial Coliseum starts right now. Okay, Max. So coming into this year's season here, we have a very interesting outlook for the 3A North and the 3A East. Do you think Snowflake's going to repeat this year? They have a great majority of their players coming back, and as we said, as we'd seen in the intro, they have Raya Denhalter. This team looks like they're primed and ready to go. The only thing I think they were missing out on last year was maybe a little bit more high-level play, I guess, but we'll have to see this year. What are your thoughts when you think about this in terms of the grand scheme of things?
I think that Snowflake has a pretty good chance this year, whether it be in the copper or the regular season bracket, the regular 3A bracket, I guess. But I see them going in as like maybe a top 14 going to state at the end of the season. I guess we'll have to find out, man. A lot can happen. So many things can happen. There's a lot of variables, and with AI nowadays and all that, it's pretty accurate. It's based on some of the stuff we've seen and how we tested and all that. Some of the things we did. So this will be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting season.
Yeah, interesting you say that. This year's focus, I think, is going to be on three teams for the East. It's going to be Sholo, Snowflake, and Holbrook as a contender this year. All three teams, especially Sholo, looks pretty good, but I do think the East is a two-horse race between Sholo and Snowflake. Holbrook had a lot of problems last year, but if they can make up for some of those, especially turnovers, I think they really are a contender and they have a chance to make some upsets.
Yeah, I think so too.
If we look at Winslow, they have most of their players returning, so they do have some more experience this year. We'll just have to see if they can build on what they created last year, and hopefully it works out for them too as well. Because again, the 3A East, it does seem pretty solid with Snowflake and Sholo, but you just never know in basketball. Going to the North, we have four teams that we're really looking into: Chinle, Tuba City, Ganado, and Page. That was the last. Sorry, four of those there. So they all they were pretty close last year. Last year it was pretty close. Chinle managed to basically win out every close game last year, and they ended up becoming the 3A North Conference champions. But Chinle did lose two significant players, DeJoan White and Kowayazi. So they're going to have to make up some of those points that they lost with further from their departures. But we're going to see here, I guess, in a few minutes what our rankings are for this coming season, and possibly maybe come up with some kind of idea as to why this might be the case. And maybe there could be an instance where maybe we could just be flat out wrong. What are your thoughts on the 3A North right now?
It's gonna be, yeah, like you said, it's gonna be between some of those teams, and to me, I think one of the sleepers is gonna be Winderock. I think they had a decent season last year. They lost one of their main players. So they got replacement though. They got some upcoming freshman girls, and I know, speak of Ryan this past few months ago, and they're gonna do some work. I see them getting better every game. I see them getting better. Maybe like a couple, maybe after the break, they'll have a pretty good solid team. I think there'll be a kind of a sleeper to this season.
So let's take a look at the 3A East rankings this year from Sports on I-40. For the 3A East, we have Snowflake on top, with Sholo coming in second, Holbrook in third, Winslow in fourth, Altusay fifth, and Blue Ridge in sixth. And one of the key factors that we have listed on the table is just the fact that Snowflake's the returning state champion, and also they have a majority of their players coming back, as well as Raya Denhalter as well. She played a pretty significant role last year in Snowflake's wins, not only against the North teams, but also in the state championship as well. If we look at Sholo, they have, I know it says 100% return, but they are missing their Raquel Wilson from last year.
Yeah.
But without Raquel Wilson, they still have everyone else coming back. So they have a very experienced team, and it looks like from what they have, as it points out there on the table, they're a revenge tour. So I think Sholo is going to be coming back looking to try to build off or try to make up for what should have been a great season for them last year, but they ended up falling short in the playoffs. Holbrook, one of the standout players from last year, Channing Harrington, she scored 300 points last year, so she is going to be expected to be a big contributor for Holbrook. But we'll have to see exactly how Coach Perkins is going to utilize some of his players and their offense. I know he was on our podcast several weeks ago, and he had mentioned turnovers as being one problem that they have, as well as overall team health too. So as the season progresses into the winter, we'll just have to see how all of that affects each team.
Yep.
The last three here, Winslow, again, they have a 92% return for their players, but they just had low efficiency last year. And we'll have to see if they can build on that and potentially make a run or make some noise here in the 3A East.
Yeah, they got some freshmen coming in too, so it's gonna be interesting to see how it turns out for them.
And last, Altusay, they have 7 seniors. They have a win now roster. They were competitive last year, but we'll just have to see if they can build off of that. Even though they're ranked 5th at the beginning of the season, you just never know. Altusay could come out and they could maybe pull some surprises and ultimately maybe shake up these rankings as the season goes forward. And lastly, Blue Ridge, they have all of their players returning, but they had the worst ratio in the region last year. This team was sort of hard to model because they did not produce any data that was available to the public. I guess their coach didn't provide any of that for any of their players, other than just their names and their grades, I believe. So the model projects Blue Ridge finishing at the bottom this coming year. They were somewhat competitive in some places and against some teams, but ultimately I think Blue Ridge is going to have a tough time. But you never know. You just never know. They might come out swinging, and they could potentially make a mark in the 3A East.
Yeah, they got that little tiny girl, that kind of short girl that gave Holbrook a hard time last year. So I think she's a senior this year, maybe. She'll be returning. So I think it's gonna be good.
So let's look at the 3A North rankings here. So one of the surprises was we recently found out, at least I think Mac kind of mentioned it to me several months ago, or at least a month ago, that Tuba City had some transfers. And Mac and I were watching the Page and Tuba City game earlier this evening, and they had mentioned that one of the players from Tuba City did transfer to Page. So we did a last-minute update to the rankings here, and as you can see on the table here, we have Chinle as number 1. And one of the biggest factors for that is they had a 1.4 ratio, which carries them despite there's a 13% return on their offense. Page, the same thing here. We list Sinagini as a mid-season player, depending her appeal. But regardless of that, I think Page is certainly going to benefit from that. But we will just have to see. Tuba City as well. they will have an early hit. It'll be a little bit more challenging for them without her in the roster. But if you look here, 1.17, 1.18, 1.21 as a rank score, so that's an error there, 1.21. Based on what the table says, it says Tuba City should be at number one. That's an error there, but basically what it's saying is it is a 3 to 4 way race between Chinle, Page, and Tuba City and Ganado. They list Ganado as balanced. They have a tough non-conference schedule. So it'll be interesting. Last year it was like this. I know Chinle had really close games against everybody. So it was just a battle in 3A North last year, and it's definitely going to be the same this year. What are your thoughts so far?
I think Ganado's. I see them getting better too. They got a transfer now too from here in Holbrook. That she transferred out back to Ganado, so that's one of the key players for Holbrook last year. Her name is Jordan, so she'll be over there, and it's gonna be interesting. She would help the team quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, we have Monument Valley and Winter Rock. So let's talk about Monument Valley. They have a young team coming in. They only returned 33% of their players. One of their big losses is Karen Mann to graduation. She was, I would say, she was probably the heart and soul of the team last year. And I think she was one of the biggest reasons why I think Monument Valley performed so well and made it so far, not only in the Copper, but in the 3A state championship, 3A state playoff as well. And Winter Rock. So it's listed as the weakest ratio in the region. But I would say Winter Rock is sort of a dark horse. And I say that because we had Coach Perkins in here, talking about how he had heard about some freshmen that were coming in. And then Ryan came in on our podcast and we were discussing the 8th grade girls at the time.
Yep.
And some of those players are freshmen this year, right? So they're expected to, I don't really know what the roster is, and I will find out on Friday when they play Holbrook, but even though this is a preseason ranking, we'll just have to see how those new players impact Winter Rock's performance this year.
Definitely.
And I do want to stress this, that these are just preseason rankings. These aren't set in stone. They're going to change as the season goes out and as these teams start to play each other. But early on, our model, this is what our model is saying. And this model is purely just based off math. And we didn't do any type of, I guess you could call them changes where, it's based on feel. Like, I feel like it's supposed to be this, so you make those changes.
Yeah.
This has purely just been simulations and numbers that kind of came with this. So our model is sort of going off on pure math right now. Let's look at the 3A North and 3A East overall rankings. So this is a projection if the 3A North and the 3A East were one conference. And our model still shows Snowflake being at the top, followed by Sholo. And I know that Sholo lost this evening to Page. Our model projected Sholo to beat Page by at least 6 points. And for the most part, I thought the model was holding up pretty well for most of the game. I think one of the things people need to understand when it comes to these points projections is that there's always random events that occurs. Random events could be turnovers. They could be calls from the ref, So it's in a perfect world, I think these projections really just mean maybe, 9 out of 10 times it's going to be this way. But there's always possibilities in which it could. So one last thing I'll say about the Sholo Page game, our over and under projection, I think it was 92.5 points. Came in really close to what the actual score was. I think there was 95?
95.
I think the final score, 51, was it 51-45?
Yep.
So what is that, 96 points, I think, if my math is correct there. So our over and under projection came in pretty close to what the final score was there. So so the model, I think right now wasn't too outrageous. I think it was within reason. And obviously, there is no perfect model out there. If there was, I probably wouldn't be doing this job. I'd be projecting the NFL or something, right? But I think displaying all of these games in this specific way kind of gives it a little bit more, makes the game a little bit more interesting to watch, and it gives people kind of an idea of what the performance of these teams could potentially be.
Yep.
So again, if we look here at this overall North and East rankings here. We have Chinle in 3rd place, Page in 4th, Tuba City in 5th, Ganado in 6th, Holbrook in 7th, and Monument Valley in with Winter Rock still projected to finish in the bottom under Blue Ridge. And that could be debatable. I would say if I look at this here, one adjustment I would probably make is probably put Winter Rock definitely over Blue Ridge. But again, it's just going to depend on player performance, and we'll have to see how these things evolve throughout the season. Do you have any idea? Have any thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, you don't have the stats of like the incoming freshman girls or anything like that too. So that's all those are going to factor in after the season goes on, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, to me, to be honest, I see Wonder Up higher quite a bit more. I see Tuba City possibly the number one team. They got a incoming freshman girl too. She's really good. I see Holbrook up there at least a top 4 team. I think is what I believe.
Right. So. Yeah. There's a lot of nuance there, and we'll have to see it. And let me just kind of explain some of the ways we kind of went with this model. So what we did was we went through last year. We took every game that the 3A North and 3A East teams played against each other, including non-conference. And then we ran a model for each one of those, including player stats included with that. And that model was built on that in order to create the preseason rankings. And using those point differentials between each team that they played, we were able to make projections on a point spread system, which allowed us to make these little calls on who's a favorite within these games. So it was certainly new to me. This is the first time I've ever done it. So even myself, I'm pretty curious to see how well this model works for and projecting some of these games. And all we're really hoping for is just to get somewhat close. I mean, like I said, it's not going to be perfect. And if you see a spread there of whatever, whether it's +1 or a spread of a 6-point favorite or a 10-point favorite, what the model is really saying is that mathematically it believes that this team has a strength or has a performance advantage over another team, and they should perform at that level. They should technically win by at least 6 points. Obviously, it doesn't always happen that way, but I think a good model would probably be with somewhere within, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 points of the projection. So tonight, again, when it was Sholo and Page, it was Page ended up winning by 6, I believe. Yeah. So, the final score, again, I don't think it necessarily invalidated the model. I really do think, despite Page winning, I still think Sholo was a better team tonight. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more in just a little bit. So let's go through here. Let's look at the 3A East Conference Championship odds. As of today, we see Sholo has a 32% probability of winning the East, followed by Sholo with a 28% probability, and Holbrook has a 14% probability, followed by Winslow, Alta and Blue Ridge. So Blue Ridge is projected to have a pretty small chance of winning the East. Does that sound fair to you?
It's pretty close. Yep. I would say so.
Yeah, and the model's clearly showing Snowflake being the team to beat in the East. If we move to the 3A North here, this is where I think it's sort of tough to tell. If you see here, Chinle has a 25. They're listing Chinle has a 25% chance, Page a 22% chance, and Tuba City a 20% chance, followed by Ganado with 15%. So, all of those are fairly close there, and it's thinks that Chinle, Page, and Tuba City are the teams to beat within the North, and it's really going to come down to who can win those close games down the stretch. And Ganado, maybe they could squeeze their way in there and potentially mess things up as well. Lastly, we have Monument Valley and Winter Rock. And as we had talked about earlier, Winter Rock being sort of a dark horse, do you think Winter Rock has a chance at winning the conference? Do you think 4.6% chance? Do you think that's too low for Winter Rock?
Yeah, I think that's too low. I see them better than a few other teams. I'd say, just based on what I know, I would say give them like a top 2, maybe like a top 3 or 14, somewhere around there.
So this simulation for this was ran 10,000 times. So the simulation went through the whole entire season using the current schedule that's been out right now, that was released. And it ran the whole entire season 10,000 times. And out of those 10,000 games or 10,000 simulations, Chinle won the North 25% of the time. Page won 22% of the time. Tuba City won 20% of the time. And Winter Rock managed to win 4.6%. So within those simulations, Winter Rock did win the conference, but they only won it a few times compared to everyone else. So if you look at the probabilities, it's showing that in a perfect world, it should finish somewhere around here. And I don't think that's not too far out of reach there. To me, when I look at the numbers here, it clearly just shows that Chinle, Page, and Tuba City are going to be masters of their own destiny. And again, it's just going to come to who's going to be able to win in the stretch there. So there you go, folks. Those were our preseason rankings and our current conference championship odds for the 3A North and the 3A East. The next thing I want to look at here is week 1 spreads here. So here we have this week's games here. As you know, tonight we did watch the Page and Sholo game here. We had Sholo projected as a 6-point favorite, but the actual result, Page winning 51-45. Our over-under was 94.5 points. So if you look here, 51 plus 45 is 96. So that 94.5 was a good number. It was right there close to the middle. It could have been slightly less. It could have been slightly more. So that was certainly a good pick on where the game finished at. So if you want to look at it like this, you know, the over and under basically represents will the team perform under the score, or will the teams perform over the score? And having such a high over and under 94.5 points, I would say the higher the number there for at the high school level probably indicates that there is the defense is somewhat moderate. It's not a high scoring game, but it's not low either. So if you look at the Chino Valley Winslow game, and I think that's being played right now as well, and it might be finished by now. But we had Winslow being a 4.8. So maybe you can round it down, 4.5 point favorite over Chinle, with the over and under being 86.5 points. So we'll have to check on that in a little bit and see, you know, how close that model came to projecting some of these scores here. If you look at Valley Christian at Blue Ridge there, Valley Christian was a 3.5 point favorite with a over and under of 88 points. So all of that, like I said, was based on using last year's schedule and projecting onto this coming season. Do you see any notables here? I want to look at Friday, November 21st, Holbrook at Windrock. Windrock is a 1-point favorite over Holbrook, and the model suggests the reason why Windrock is a favorite is because of the reservation home court advantage. Not only does Holbrook have to travel there on a Friday, but also Windrock has a big gym. They don't necessarily fill it up anymore these days, but there's certainly that factor that's going to play into that. And also, it's the first game of the season for Holbrook, and I believe Windrock too. So there could be some opening game jitters to this. So do you think Windrock having a 1-point favorite, Windrock being a 1-point favorite is a fair assessment here, Mac?
I think it's be a close game. Shoot, that's hard to say, man. I got to give it to Holbrook though. I say Holbrook by 2 points is what I'm kind of predicting, man.
The model certainly believes that the Windrock game is going to be a close game.
This will be close.
And they have a 91, so I guess we could say 91.5 point over and under. So the model is projecting the final score of the games to finish somewhere around 91.5 points. So that would be something like what, 50-41, something like that. Maybe something if it's a 1 point, I guess it would be something maybe somewhere in the 40s, like 49, 47 or 8. I'm totally bad at math on the spot here.
40, 46 or so.
So that'll be certainly something to look out for, and I know we're gonna be going to the game on Friday to watch, and hopefully it's a good one here. Look at November 21st again, Hopi at Ganado. Ganado is an 11.5 point favorite with an over under of 91 or 97 points. The model suggesting that Ganado is going to basically crush Hopi there, and I think that's a fair assessment for
Yeah.
this game. 97 points. I would take the over on this. I think there's gonna be more than 97 points. I think Ganado will their scoring will overpower Hopi, and the final score will probably be actually you. There's a case for taking the under on this one, under 97 points. If Ganado's defense is good and can hold Hopi to somewhere in the 30s, maybe it'll be pretty tough for Ganado to go on a scoring run to get over 97 points. So I guess there's a good case for taking an over and under on this one. What are your thoughts on that, man?
I think if Ganado can get some fast breaks and display speed, a quick game, I think they'll get to scoring, and they can increase that spread right there. So I think they got a good chance. Yeah, I say more than they'll win by more than 11 points, I believe.
Okay, are you gonna take the over or the under on this one?
I'm taking the over on this one.
The over?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna take the under. I think the under is gonna pay out on this one. Let's look at Tuba City at Holbrook on Saturday, November 22nd. So Tuba City is a 4.2, so we'll just say a 4-point favorite. The model suggesting the reason is Tuba City's efficiency gives them an edge. What do you think about Tuba City being a 4-point favorite?
I think I say it's a little closer game than that. It seemed like early on in the first couple games, everybody's kind of trying to figure out. Holbrook will have a game the night before, so they'll be a little more ready than Tuba. I think it's Tuba's first game is to be Saturday, so I think Holbrook's will be a little more ready than Tuba. Given that, I'd say Holbrook by 2 points again.
So you think Tuba City, or so Holbrook, rejecting Holbrook to win this game?
I'm thinking Holbrook to win this one.
Okay, so yeah, what about the over and under?
95.
95, 95.
It's under that. This would be all defense, I think.
You think it's gonna be all defense? I'm gonna go with both sides are gonna have a lot of turnovers. Yeah, there's a good case for the under, and I think the under is probably gonna be a good bet on this one. So I would take the under on this one, under 95.5 points. Unless it's some game with no defense and everyone's making three-pointers.
Making threes. That's a factor too, man. Yep, for sure.
So yeah, leave in the comments on what you think on some of these results here. Are you taking the over and under on any of these games? Do you think some of these spread points are a little bit off? What are your thoughts on that? And lastly, for our week one here, we have as well, again, Saturday the 22nd, Kanab at Chinle. Kanab is a small town right there next to Fredonia over there. For Chinle is a 14.5 point favorite with a over and under of 101.5 points. This model is saying that possibly there's going to be no defense on Kanab's side, that Chinle is going to make a lot of points, because I don't really foresee Kanab making a whole lot of points. Chinle's defense most likely will hold them to maybe somewhere around 30 points, maybe. So in order to get it over 101, Chinle's offense is really going to have to perform to get to that 101. So I would take the under on this one as well.
I'm taking under too.
Now, maybe if it was like, I don't know, maybe if it was Tuba City or Page or something, maybe they could make the 101. But I do think Chinle still is, I think that's pretty reasonable, being a 14.5 point favorite. I would probably expect Chinle to probably win by more than that, maybe 15 to 20 maybe. But we'll have to see.
Yep. One of the games that's not listed on this, but that I seen was Page against Kirtland Central. I saw it earlier.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's to be an interesting game. Kirtland Central's a good team. I think after tonight, I think Page would be a little more ready. That's gonna almost be like one of them games that the Eastern, the Arizona and New Mexico type games. And
well, based on what I saw tonight,
be a good measure.
Based on what I saw tonight, I think Page is going to lose by 20 points.
Page will lose by 20.
Yeah, I think Kirtland Central is going to win by 20.
Yeah, Kirtland's defending champs too, so
And is it Page at Kirtland?
it's at Kirtland.
So yeah, Page has to travel all the way over there as well. So
Yeah.
I just again, like as I had said mentioned earlier, I thought Sholo was the better team. But at the end of the day, Page ultimately had more points to win at the end. But I think just overall, just looking at Sholo's size, their players have gotten a lot more skillful compared to last year.
Mm-hmm.
They just kind of went cold in the third quarter, and had some crucial calls go against them.
Yeah.
Even the last
Right at the
call,
end, yep.
even the last one at the very end, even though I think it was a 2-possession game, anyways, still just kind of little calls at that, or when I think it was the Boyce girl, they called her out of bounds, even though she reestablished herself inbounds, and then got the pass.
It was a loose ball call at the
Yeah.
end too. And I think it could have been either. It could have went to Sholo's favor too. I think. So yeah.
So yeah, so it's just like I said, the model. Even though we have this model, there are things like that'll affect the ultimate outcome, and that's they call that the randomness of plays, right? So it'll be fun following the teams this year. We'll make these spread predictions available to all of you, and maybe you can look at them and just kind of see what for yourself. Do you take the over and under of these games? And I'm kind of curious to see how this model will do as the season goes on. And the model will get updated, obviously, because the games will be played, the scores will be posted, the stats will come out for each of these players. So the model will be able to adjust as the season moves forward. And I think we'll probably make weekly updates to the rankings. We'll also make weekly updates or maybe bi-weekly updates for the odds of who's going to win the North and the East as well.
Yep.
Which is pretty standard. I mean, for any sport, whether it's basketball or football, they always have their preseason projections, and as the season goes on, and the games are played, they start to change the odds based on how the player performance is during that day. So, anyways, yeah, please tell us what you think about this. Leave it in the comments below. Mac, do you have anything else to add to this?
No, I just look forward to this season and see how everything plays out, man.
Great, and again, we're gonna continue to do this. We're gonna have to put together the boys' preseason rankings as well. So do expect a show in hopefully within the next week regarding the boys' rankings for the North and the East, and also probably next Wednesday or Thursday, maybe Wednesday, we're gonna have another show just like this where we're gonna talk about week 2 spreads for the girls for the games. But I think they have games Tuesday next week, right?
Yep.
So we might have to do a show maybe Monday, so that we can get ahead of those and produce those week 2 spreads for everybody, so they have something to look at and maybe kind of compare to. And this is all in good fun. I wanted to display the games this year this way, as a way to sort of get everybody more involved, get more imaginative, get more creative, and just kind of think about the game in a different way, and hopefully it gives you a measure on how to view these games, and maybe it'll make it more exciting for everyone as well.
Yep.
So again, thank you for watching here. This is the Sports on I-40 podcast. Have a good evening, morning, or night.